going to start the rally now. I'm State Senator Len Suzio. My hometown is right here in Meriden, but I also represent Cheshire, Middlefield, and Middletown and Rockfall. We are fortunate to have several other elected officials with us today who will speak as well as part of our speaking platform. I want to say that when I go out talking to people, one of the messages I try to bring to people is that it's time to take back your government. It's time to make certain that government reflects your values and your choices. And too many people today are apathetic. They don't get involved, and as a result, things go on like what we're facing today, an impasse on the budget. So what we're going to invite you to do today is we're going to hear some stories from some of the folks who are being badly affected by the cuts under Governor Malloy's executive order, and then I'm going to invite you to do something to make the budget happen. And we're going to try to make this a little bit of fun. So what I want to do is I want to have a chant that whenever I hold up this sign, I want you to start shouting the chant. And what I'd like to do is kind of divide it up as far as, let's say, that gentleman there, Steve, who's got the Protect Human Services pass, he's going to be, everybody to the right of him is going to be chanting, pass a budget. And then everybody on this side, we're going to say, do your job. All right, so I'm going to hold it up, and I'm going to point to you guys, pass a budget, and then I'll point to you guys and say, do your job. All right, and I want to hear it loud and clear. Ready? You know what? The second group was louder than you guys. You're embarrassed. Let's try it again. Ready? All right, that's good. We're getting it now. We're just getting warmed up. And what I want to do is, during the course of some of the speakers, when they're talking, I'll hold up the sign and we'll start the chant. So we'll always go, pass a budget, do your job. Right? You got it? Okay. A few days ago, I met the advocates for the disabled at the Capitol, and I was so moved by what I saw and the harm and the damage that's being done that it really motivated me to start thinking, we've got to go public with this. We've got to make something happen. In my short legislative career, I learned the only time you can get anything done up at Hartford is when you get the public behind what you're doing. That means you got to let the public know what's going on and then give them a chance to do something about it. So having a rally and having the face of the suffering that's been caused by Governor Malloy's arbitrary cuts in his executive order is, I hope, going to motivate the public. They're going to see the human side to the suffering that's being inflicted by the governor's executive order. And then we're going to call for each and every one of you to get involved, to call the legislature and to speak to certain people or email them to urge them to convene a special session to pass a budget next week. Now, I don't want you to be discouraged at all. We're just at the beginning of this, but I am convinced, because in my short legislative career, we made things happen that people said wouldn't happen. When we capped the gas tax a few years ago, everybody said, yeah, that's not going to happen. And we had so many rallies and people signing petitions, it did happen. So you have to keep the faith. Don't get discouraged. You're not hopeless and you're not helpless. You actually can take control of the situation and you can make things happen. And by the way, today we're going to be looking at the human side, particularly of the disabled who are being adversely affected by the governor's executive order. But everybody in the state of Connecticut is really being adversely affected. Every city and town is sitting on pins and needles, not knowing what kind of grants they're going to get from the state. Every taxpayer is affected by this. The business community is affected by all the uncertainty. Even our veterans are being affected. I got a call last night from a veteran from the antique veterans here in Meriden saying they're taking back the money for the honor guard when we bury our veterans who have served our country. So literally everyone in the state of Connecticut is hurting because of this. So it's what? Time to... Come on. One more time. Right, that's it. So I want to inform you what you can do after you hear these stories today. The key thing is to understand how the legislative process works. we can't convene a session and debate the budget until two very important people certify what they call an E-cert. That's the Speaker of the House and the Senate President Pro Tem. They are actually more powerful in some ways than Governor Malloy right now because they control when and if we'll meet to discuss and debate and pass a budget. So the pressure's on them. I'm convinced that almost all the legislators up there want to meet and pass a budget as soon as possible. But we can't do it without the Speaker of the House and the Senate President Pro Tem e-certifying. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is email those two people and phone call their offices and spread the word to your friends and neighbors that it's time to get off their duffs up there in the Capitol and pass. What? That's the message you got to get to the Speaker of the House and to the Senate President Pro Tem. There's some concern about whether, what will happen. There are 4 budgets floating around at the Capitol. It's not as if we have nothing to discuss. There's plenty to discuss, and every day that we delay is a day that more suffering is inflicted on people here in Connecticut. So we need to convene the session next week to pass a budget that will take care of the most vulnerable in our society and also recognize there's a limit to what taxpayers themselves can afford. And by the way, those two positions are not mutually exclusive. We can have a fiscally responsible budget, and at the same time, we can take care of the most vulnerable. So we're going to start the speakers right now. Oh, I'm going to mention one other thing. We do have a petition, which I encourage all of you to sign. The petition's available online at my website, senatorsuzio.com. Click on it. We want to get thousands of signatures in the next few days to make this happen. So I'm going to invite people up one at a time right now to talk about how the governor's executive order has affected them. And the first person I want to call up is Mackenzie Jean from ARC. Is Mackenzie here? Here he comes. All right. Mackenzie.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to the rally.
Hi. My name is Mackenzie Jean. I work for MidState ARC. How's everyone doing?
Yeah. We're ready.
All right. Well, I wrote a little speech here to talk about the budget cuts and not having a budget, and here I go. I work as a support coordinator at the MidState ARC. I oversee about 25 individuals at our program at the ARC. I would like to start by saying that making a budget is not easy, but not having a budget is very detrimental to the people I advocate on a daily basis. By not coming up with a budget or cutting budgets, cutting budgets for the people that I advocate, programs are shutting down. People are not being meet to the standards for the services, and these budget cuts for the state are not meeting the standards for the services that we are doing for the state of Connecticut. And these people rely on the budget to live their lives and enjoy the quality of life. Just because one is born with an intellectual disability does not mean one should not live the life like everyone else here. This budget does not only affect the people that we advocate for, it affects the advocators. With no budget, the company will be shutting down and for our company 6 days out of the year, and we are currently in a hiring freeze. We have many staff here who are in fear of losing their jobs and depend on it to support their families. I myself is a single father to a son who depends on me to support him every day. And I would like to end by saying that we need a budget now, and a budget that will not hurt the individuals that we advocate for and the advocators. Thank you for your time.
All right. All right, come on, let's go.
Pass the budget.
Oh, this is weak. Come on. Pass
the budget.
All right. Mackenzie's a caretaker, and I could see how effective he could be. He's a good man, and the people in his charge are certainly in good hands. The next people we're going to hear from are some of the disabled themselves. And I have a father and son that I want to invite up here, Walter and Nick Glom. Walter and Nick, can you show up here? Come on.
Morning. Hey, my name's Walt. I'm a dad. How many were with us on Tuesday at the Capitol? Thank you. Was that cool or what? That was fantastic. Okay, and I'm glad to see so many people here today. What I want to do now is introduce Nick, and he's going to tell you about the services he gets and how important they are in his life and for other people. Nick?
Thank you, thank you. All right, first of all, the people are currently suffering from this, not just me, and also current people are employed and are looking for the state of Connecticut as well. We need to pass this budget for me and for many others, and also for our veterans. And I care about our veterans as well. We need this budget to pass right now. The reason why this budget cannot get hurt right now, doing ourselves, we need to pass the budget right now for all of us, including our war veterans. Thank you, and have a nice day.
All right. All right. All right, this is for Nick. This better be a loud cheer. Go ahead. One more time. Come on, for Nick. All right. Thank you, Nick and Walt. Next, I want to call up to speak Dan Osborne from Gilead, Gilead Community Services over in Middletown. I've known the folks over there since I was first elected back in 2011. They do a fabulous job. Dan, come on up and say a few words to the crowd.
Well, thank you so much, Senator and representatives, for being here today and supporting these essential services. Our message is pretty simple. We need help. We need the legislature to, do I have it? Do your job.
Pass a budget.
Pass a budget. Because if you don't, if we don't, these are the individuals behind me, with me, out there in the crowd today that are going to be affected. And we don't say that just to influence the next step of what's going to happen. We say that because it's reality. Our clients depend on our services. Gilead has been around for almost 50 years. We provide mental health services to individuals in need throughout Middlesex County. We serve just shy of 1,000 clients each year. And the reality for Gilead is with the current financial state and the current, I was going to call it a budget, but it's not a budget, that's in place through the executive order, Gilead will have to close programming. Gilead will have to reduce services. These are individuals, tens, 20, 100, that will be without services if we don't act. So it's as simple as that for us. We love what we do. Our staff that are here today love what they do. We do it because we're passionate. We do it because we care. And we want the legislature to do their jobs so that we can do ours. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for supporting this important message.
Thank you, Dan. All right, let's go. All right, thank you, Dan. Let's see. Next, I would like to invite up on the stage Larry Gray, who's a board member of Mark Community Resources in Middletown. Larry, come on up.
You know, first of all, I'd like to thank Senator Suzio for organizing and having this rally and the legislators that also have come. And Len introduced me as a board member of Mark of Connecticut, but I'm also the father of a 30-year-old daughter who is IDD caucuses and attends Mark's day program. And I also am on the board of ARC of Connecticut. So I just want to talk about, first of all, the services that are being cut, and my concern is it's even going to go further than that. You know, the cutting the services, we already have a furlough days, and my daughter can't go to the program next week. And going to the program is so important to her. She gets out, she does work in the community, and feels part of the community. And I also think she is a productive member of our community. She can work, she can do jobs that maybe nobody else wants to do. So it's very important that, you know, that we pass this budget. You know, we've got to get this budget passed. And also echo what Senator Suzio says, we all have got to contact our legislators, the leaders of the Senate and the House of Representatives, and primarily the two people that Len referred to. This is my daughter.
Well,
I
come
didn't
on
realize
up.
she was going to be here.
Introduce her to everybody,
Yeah.
Larry. Come on.
Yeah. Come on over here. Okay. Hold your sign up, okay? Okay. What are you going to say? You know what it says? Thank you, Senator Suzio. Can you say that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator Suzio.
Thank you.
You know, and we had a board meeting just this last night, actually, and you know, we were talking to comply with these cuts. You know, we're going to have to cut programs, and the possibility of closing the day program, closing group homes, and that's going to be a devastating effect to people like my daughter. It's also going to affect the people that work for MARC, because they're not going to have jobs if we have to close it. And even if we just get the furlough days, they're still going to not get paid for a day that they normally work. So we really got to, you know, pass this budget. And I think we have a lot of support up at the Capitol to do that. We just need the leaders to bring it to a vote, and they got to do it soon, you know, because this is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, let's hear it for Larry and his daughter. Come on. All right. Thank you, Larry. The next person I'd like to invite up is Beth Fisher from Kuhn. Kuhn is a fantastic organization. It finds jobs and helps the disabled to become productive workers, and the kinds of things that are needed, I think, for people to feel a sense of self-satisfaction. So they provide an indispensable service to the disabled in the community. Beth?
Great. Thank you so much, Len. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Meriden, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody here. Oh, great. So I'm Beth Fisher, and I'm the Executive Director of Kuhn Employment Opportunities, and we are based right here in Meriden, so it's nice to see everybody here. Thank you to Len for hosting this. We very much appreciate it. Also, thanks to Senator Abercrombie and Altobello for joining us as well. I just want to tell you a little bit about what Kuhn is living with the governor's executive order right now. For our DD programs, we, like others, have a furlough day for our day in employment services. And if I could get everybody with a Kuhn hat to kind of wave it, I mean.
All right.
So, unfortunately, all of the people waving their hat can't come to work next Wednesday. That's what the executive order has done for us. And so that can be pretty devastating if you have to miss a day's pay, right? So, you know, we really do need to see a budget passed. Kuhn also provides services on the mental health side. We do employment opportunities both here in Meriden and in Middletown. And some of you may know that back in October, those programs already took a pretty heavy cut. 70 people who were getting those services in Meriden and Middletown lost those services back in October. If we continue to live under the governor's executive order, another 80 people are going to lose their services. So, you know, this is really crucial stuff that is, you know, killing nonprofits and the people that we serve every day. So we definitely are hoping that the legislators can work together, find some compromise and keep our services whole. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right, I expect the Kuhn people to be really loud. Come on. Let's go. Pass a button. That's better. All right, we like that. Okay, sure. We do have, by the way, for those of... That guy's a natural. Come on up here. We need you. We do have ice water here, by the way. If somebody's really thirsty, please help yourself. Come on up to on the corner of the stage here. We do have ice water for people who are feeling a little bit of the heat. The next person I'd like to invite up is Linsey Walters from Chrysalis. Linsey, welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me. My name is Linsey Walters. I'm the program director for Meriden-Wallingford Chrysalis. I've been with our agency for about 9 years and have seen a variety of different budgets. And I want to give just a short glimpse of kind of what we do. In a day, through our domestic violence services, Chrysalis housed approximately 43 adults, had 15 new clients come in through arraignments through our Meriden court, supported 6 adult women in support group, and provided child care services for those attendees to allow them to attend the support group. Since July 1st, we've been providing services without a contract. By holding out on not passing a workable budget, nonprofits have to choose between running programs kind of in a hope and a prayer that these services are going to be reimbursed, or they're left with the decision of closing their doors. It's an unreasonable expectation for anyone to be put in, and we are holding on to our faith and our hope that a reasonable budget is going to be passed so that domestic violence survivors have a place to continue to turn to. Domestic violence services are experiencing funding cuts from multiple sources, federal, both state and local foundations, and yet our services are increasing for demand. We've strategically looked to balance our agency budget. We've reduced hours when appropriate, and we're truly at our bare bones. As we enter a new program year with minimal contracts, the future looks a little daunting. Shelter services to house our clients in shelter cost about $1,000 a day, and we're unsure with the money that we've spent since July 1 if it's going to be reimbursed. Our shelter clients are some of the most susceptible in the community. Victims fleeing domestic violence suffer consequences of strained communities and are often left with the choice of sustaining an abusive relationship or becoming literally homeless. Chrysalis urges the state to approve a fair budget that considers the needs of victims in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Linsey. God bless. All right, where's my cheerleader over there? You're going to lead the cheer. Come on, ready? You're really getting into this. I love it. Well, we've seen so far how the budgeters, the governor's executive orders have really adversely hurt the disabled and battered women. Our next speaker is someone who represents the homeless in Connecticut. I'm going to ask Ann Faust to come up. She's from the Coalition on Housing and the Homeless. Ann, would you kindly say a few words and let the public know how the homeless are being hurt?
Thank you, Len, and thank you. It's an honor to be here to lift my voice for the common good. I work for the Coalition on Housing and Homelessness. We work in Meriden, Wallingford, and Middlesex County, and I have good news to report. While homelessness is increasing across the nation, in Connecticut it has decreased dramatically because of the investment of the state. And I have really good news. We were the first region in Connecticut to match every chronically homeless person with a housing resource. There is no longer a wait list for people who are chronically homeless. Yes, that's something we should cheer about. So we have spent the money to build the infrastructure to make this happen. We have a coordinated access network so that people accessing services make one call to 211. It's streamlined the services. It has reduced costs to our emergency departments and our criminal justice system, because once somebody has a roof over their head, they cost us, our society, less than they would if they're on the streets. So our solutions have worked. They've saved tax dollars, payer dollars, and they're at risk now. We have one staff person for our coordinated access network. She just received a notice that her funding runs out September 30th if we don't pass a budget. She's a single mom with bills to pay. Needless to say, the stress that that is causing is unbelievable. One gentleman, when he got his voucher for permanent supportive housing, I heard him very, very quietly to himself whisper, "The nightmare is over." But now, if a budget isn't passed, he could lose his voucher and the nightmare of homelessness could begin again for him. So, lift up your voices, go back to your offices, make 2 phone calls. Call your state senator and your state representative. Let your voice be heard. They will listen, they have to listen, and we can make a difference. But keep calling, keep writing, and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for the great work you do. Where's my cheerleader over there? Come on. Okay, we've heard from the people who have been hurt by the governor's executive order. Now we're going to have some legislators get up and talk about what they're ready to do to get a special session convened next week. I'm going to invite Representative Kathy Abercrombie to speak first. Kathy, come on.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, especially to our nonprofits that are here today. You know, we can't do what we do as a state without you guys. And as the chairwoman of Human Services, I've met with each and every one of you numerous times. So please, thank you, thank you, thank you. As far as the budget's concerned, we want a budget as much as you do. But it doesn't do any of us any good if we can only get it out of one chamber. As you can tell, the Republicans have 2 budgets. They have a Senate budget and they have a House budget. They can pass the Senate budget, but it won't pass the House. So what we're working on is a budget that'll pass the House, the Senate, and the governor will sign it. I have every confidence that we will have a budget within the next 2 weeks to be voted on, and we're not happy either with the executive order and the cuts that the governor has made. We're not happy at all either, because we know how this affects you. And some of us on Human Services have worked really hard over the last few years to protect these services for you. So let me just say again, thank you, thank you, thank you, and we will be passing a budget.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Representative Abercrombie. I'm going to ask Representative Altabello. Buddy, come on up and say a few words of wisdom to the crowd.
Thank you. Very few words, because I know it's very hot out there and very warm. And thank you all for coming today, and thank you for sharing your stories with us. It will help us very much to take your stories and your situations back to the Capitol to our colleagues to get some action, which we expect very, very shortly. Thank you. Thanks again for attending.
Buddy's always renowned for his straightforward message, and I want to thank him. I'm certain the crowd appreciates it, too. Our last speaker today is going to be State Senator Joe Markley. Joe, would you come on up and speak to the crowd for a minute or so?
Not even a minute, I hope, since my colleagues have been so admirably brief. I'm going to say what's obvious, which is all of us want to do the right thing up there. And I can tell you I've worked a lot with Kathy over the last few years, and our hearts are together on this, and our minds are very much together, too. I want to see the rest of the legislature reach that point. And believe me, there's nobody that doesn't want to do things right. We talk a lot about the Speaker and the President of the Senate. I know those men, too, and they want to get it right as well. What we need to do is to be humble enough to realize that we need to work together. And I'd ask you, when you encourage people to go forward to vote on a budget, that those of you who do such things also ask that the Lord give us the wisdom to find a way forward. Because it's not that we don't want the way, it's that we haven't found it together yet. And I think that's something that needs to, part is a change in our hearts, and a part is a change in our vision, which maybe needs a little help from upstairs. Thank you so much for coming out today. You're an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Markley. I'm going to end by asking my fellow legislators to join me up here and show that there's bipartisan support for convening a special session and voting on the budget as soon as possible. It cuts across both sides of the aisle. Come on over, Buddy and Kathy and Joe. Let's shake hands and let's show. Come on, let's go. Let's like the cheer. Come on. We're gonna go for. I'll conclude by just saying that this is going to be an unusual session whenever it happens because no one knows how it's going to turn out. Representative Abercrombie referred to the fact that one version, the Republican Senate version, won't pass the House. My attitude is let's start the session and start the debate with the House Democratic budget. I don't care. Well, it's just the beginning of the debate, and the only way we're going to make any progress is if we actually meet and talk to one another and debate the issue. We don't have to wait for leadership to somehow come with a magic formula, which may not happen for months yet. So thank you all for showing up today, and I want to say to you all, remember, you're going to contact today the Speaker of the House and the Senate President Pro Tem, and we're going to do one more chant, and then we're going off. So ready? I want to see who's the loudest. So ready? Where's my cheerleader? Go ahead. Thank you all for coming. Don't give up hope. Keep the pressure on. Get involved. Thank you very much.